Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about Phineas and Ferb, the movie, Candace Against the Universe. Despite having watched a lot of Phineas and Ferb during the time when it was popular, at least, and rewatching a bit now because I got my daughter into it recently, I'm not a big fan of the movies or the specials, and mostly because I think what I really like about the show is kind of how sort of structured it is and formatted it is, and it has kind of fun with that formatting, and you kind of get used to it, from the songs to what you do and to like all the various catchphrases and what are we going to do today, all that sort of stuff. I don't mean that in a negative way. I actually think that show like excels in doing that and being like a lot smarter, using a structure that makes you feel like you can just sort of like sit back and watch a normal TV show that you can just count on to be the same way. But when you get into the movies, they obviously can't do the same structure, or they don't even really attempt to. I'm not a big across the second dimension person, to be honest. I wasn't a kid when that came out. I understand there's a lot of hype for people. There wasn't really for me. It was just like a special that was on. Although I like moments in that. But with Candace Against the Universe, I did actually like this more than I expected to, because as it started, I was like, oh right, I don't actually like any of the movies, or when they became Star Wars or Marvel or whatever the fuck, the various specials they've done over the years. I think what sort of works about this is, one, it's dealing with the character of Candace and sort of her whole arc, which I thought was kind of nice to have something more, I guess, plotline wise from like her perspective and stuff, which was sort of nice. I kind of wish there had been more to be like, why does she want to bust her brother so much? Why doesn't she just like, it's not so much I felt how she felt about herself. It's just like, maybe you're just like sort of a bored kid who likes to get their siblings in trouble. I don't necessarily think it's because she doesn't like herself or wants to deal with herself, because they never really got into her own insecurities. I think she's a very nervous person, but it wasn't like a proper psychological profile or something. Not that you necessarily needed that, but like, why do siblings have to want to get tattletale on their siblings and stuff like that? I don't necessarily think they really were saying very much about that, rather than like, she wants to be special in this thing, and sort of like, I don't know, I just didn't think there was much they're necessarily saying that was that special or unique or anything like that. Basically, the plot of this is Candace feels kind of like, again, like she, Phineas and Ferb get all the attention, although it seems like actually she gets most of the attention for really getting into it, specifically from her mom versus Phineas and Ferb. But whatever. She feels like kind of ignored, and then is sucked up with Vanessa Doofenshmirtz to an alien world. And then when she gets to the alien world, they feel that she is the chosen one. She is basically, treated like royalty, whereas Phineas and Ferb decide to get Renji Buford and go up into outer space with Doofenshmirtz's spaceship thing and try to, get her back, because they think she's been abducted, and they have all these kind of crazy adventures on an alien world. And Candace meets like this queen who's kind of like, is her friend, who's voiced by Ali Wong, which I didn't notice for most of the movie because I'm stupid, I guess. They become best buddies, and she feels kind of special and appreciated. Whereas Phineas and Ferb like want to sort of figure out what's the deal with this alien planet, what's going on with her, and what's behind this whole thing, and why did they exactly like abduct Candace and everything like that. Well, first off, I think the big thing with this is it's nice seeing Phineas and Ferb again, but I think a lot of people, they knew this movie was coming out, and it was cool to know they're making more Phineas and Ferb, although apparently I haven't watched Milo Murphy's Law, but that was kind of had Phineas and Ferb characters in it, and so it's not like we had a huge break. This isn't like with Rocco or Invader Zim or any of those other things where we get a revival and it feels like, oh my god, this is so cool, I should watch the last one. And in this, it's like, it doesn't feel like there's enough time, or that we're in 2010s 2008 nostalgia at this point. But okay, guys, there's that. But it is still nice seeing Phineas and Ferb content at this point. I don't know if it does them any favors for the fact that you can literally just watch all their episodes very easily, and since we've been watching them a lot lately, this movie doesn't necessarily hold up to like the better episodes, or even like sort of the okay episodes or anything. But in terms of like, kind of at least getting new content, it is actually fun. We had a fun night watching it. It was sort of like a very disposable sort of thing, but we had fun. But I do think like things like Doofenshmirtz wasn't utilized very well. The whole Doofenshmirtz Perry Vanessa storyline, it's like, why even have them in there? They could be completely cut out of the entire movie and you wouldn't notice. And I have really no reason other than, that you have to have them there. But it's like, this is my thing with, like, when you get to the structure of the episodes, where Doofenshmirtz fits in. And it feels like when they leave that, they're a little, like, sketchier, and, like, they're almost like they need that framework in there for the show to work as well as it usually does. And without that, it just doesn't sing as well as normally it does. I did like some of the songs. They weren't, like, fantastic, anything of my favorite. Also, the canoe thing, I don't understand that. It didn't really lead anywhere. It wasn't that funny. And it's just like, why is Buford carrying this thing? Like, I thought there was going to be a payoff that was worth it. And then what was the payoff? Like, I don't understand. They made it into a ship. Like, I just don't, that's stupid. They could have just MacGyvered something together or something. They didn't really need that. I sort of like, there was a warp speed joke where, like, they, like, are broken down, and they're broken down, like, with their animation. Apparently that was a joke that was originally in the planned Phineas and Ferb movie that never happened. Apparently Disney even wanted to cut it out, but they, like, stuck by this joke. It is funny. Gumball did it first, guys, and I think Gumball did it better, but it was still funny. I get that this is a joke they wanted to do clearly for a long time, and they finally gotten to do it. Kudos to them. It is still very clever, and it showed kind of, I think one of the things Phineas and Ferb doesn't get as much credit for is how experimental and how weird that show could get while still being, like, a pretty normal feeling, more pedestrian show, whereas it had a lot more brains behind it, and that reminded me of how smart Phineas and Ferb really could be, because it's kind of a cool, smart joke, even if Gumball did it better. I had fun with this movie. I don't think this is a highlight of the Phineas and Ferb canon or anything like that, and I don't think this is definitely not where you should start. I don't know why Disney Plus is advertising it a lot, I hope you've seen Phineas and Ferb before, but if you hadn't and watched this, you'd be like, I don't get why this thing was such a huge hit. It's kind of just like a reunion movie, but it's a reunion movie they did too quickly. It should be 2032 when you're doing something like that, not 2020. It was fine. I still don't think any of the movies really work as well as the show itself, and I think that's mainly just like the conceit and the structure of the show is really kind of one of the highlights of it. When we leave that, it just doesn't hold up as well, and I've felt that way since I watched the first movie. During the specials, I'm fine with the half-hour episodes, to be honest with you. Those are fine. I'm a fan of the Meep Chronicles, but, I much rather would have had 3 episodes of Phineas and Ferb than this movie. And I think Phineas and Ferb works best as a TV show. Maybe that's why they didn't make the theatrical film. Maybe when they didn't make the theatrical film, they should have made, all these kind of TV movie things, or the streaming service movie that's sort of a movie. Apparently some of the animation wasn't that done. It didn't necessarily bother me. Phineas and Ferb movie, it was a fun little streaming service thing. It got me to use Disney Plus again. Kudos for you. This is another movie where it's like, it's a fun trifle, it's fun on a Friday night, we definitely need entertainment like that, but then when it's all said and done, are we really even going to be thinking about this in a year, or am I just going to hear, like, Nick Tendo or somebody talk about it in like 2 years and be like, remember that? And I'm like, oh yeah, good reference, because I don't remember that. And that's as far as this is going to go, to be honest with you. And I don't think we'll remember it more than just a bunch of animation dorks on the internet making reference to sort of how forgettable it is. So kudos to them, but at least we had a fun time before we completely forgot and disposed of this. Not Phineas and Ferb, by the way, just the movie. So if you have seen Phineas and Ferb the movie, Candace Against the Universe, and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to.